this is Gilgamesh. I want to talk about this movie, Christy. I just saw it, and it's an amazing film. The cast of this movie is great. You don't realize you're looking at Sydney Sweeney. She absolutely embodies Christy Martin, and Christy Martin's from I think it's West Virginia, and she got the nickname for boxing as the coal miner's daughter. And I'm gonna say it, Sydney Sweeney is amazing. She gained weight for this. She learned to box. You don't recognize her, or Ben Foster. Ben Foster plays Jim Martin, and you do not realize that's Ben Foster. I mean, I've seen him in a lot of things. I had to look at the end of the movie to go, who the hell played her husband? Oh, it's Jim. It's Ben Foster. Wow. And then Chad Coleman. He is so dead on his Don King. You're like, did Don King come back from the dead? Yeah. This movie is so phenomenally good that it does something that you don't get with a lot of biopics. I'll just bring this up. I'll show you I want to show you. I'm going to go through the Wikipedia because it's actually pretty accurate to the movie. Let me find it. Sorry. Yeah, this is here's the cast, the full cast right here. Yeah, you got Sydney Sweeney. This is her, and she looks nothing like it. She literally is Christy Martin in the movie, and that's really Christy Martin. Here's the thing: Christy Martin's 5'4", Sydney Sweeney's 5'3", but this is probably one of the best box movies because it looks like they're actually, everybody in the movie, all the women really look like they're actually hitting. And yeah, from the beginning, she's from this coal mining town, and you meet her family, her father, her brother, and her mother. Her mother is one of the most intolerant people in the goddamn world. One of these ultra religious fucking idiots who doesn't understand God didn't hate anyone. And she doesn't like the fact that her daughter is a lesbian, and essentially Merritt Weaver is such a dislikable individual as Joyce Salters that her father, when her father doesn't talk, and I think it's really because of her mother. Her father didn't, John Salters, while they're having dinner, he looks at his daughter angry, and I think it's really her mother that's controlling things, till later on in the movie, and then you realize, oh, he doesn't hate his daughter. I think it's her bigotry of her hatred of her daughter being a lesbian kind of makes her a bitch in the movie. And same thing with Jim. They're the only two people who seem to have a problem with Christy. And of course, she gets crap at school, which that does happen, but and she doesn't let it bother her. And of course, one thing they did was they changed her high school girlfriend from Sherry Lusk to Rosie. And I do remember that when they bring in Layla Ali, that's Muhammad Ali's daughter, the actress playing, which is Naomi Graham, she is tall, and so is Layla Ali. And I do remember this fight because it's on pay-per-view. And it was the Mike Tyson fight, and this was the uncard was Layla Ali versus Christy Martin, the coal miner's daughter, and they don't hold anything back. It's a phenomenal 2 hours, I think 2 hours and 15 minutes, and it just moves at it really. You don't feel like you don't realize it's on. And I was like, I forgot that Sydney Sweeney. I kept when they showed the boxing, it was so accurate what boxing looks like, especially when you think about women's boxing early on. And I was just I was cheering when she not won her fights and everything. And I'll say it, Sydney Sweeney is absolutely phenomenal. I recommend everybody see this movie. And what reason I admire Christy Martin is because it isn't the fact that she's a lesbian, it's the fact that she figured she loved boxing, and she meets Jim, who we find out is a complete compulsive liar. He lies to her about knowing Don King, and when they meet Don King's like, No, I remember the people I meet. I've never met you. And she looks over, Christy Martin looks over at Jim, and he, you know, and then there's a point where she goes on TV, and Jim set her up for this to embarrass her. She says, I think I deserve to get paid more. And Don King ain't happy with this. And he tells Christy Martin, if you ever try to pull that shit again, I will fucking kick your ass to the curb. And says, you sign this contract right here, or there is no contract. And see, that's the truth about Don King. He did not like to be embarrassed. And I'll say it, Coleman, who plays Don King, yeah, Chad L. Coleman, he looked and acted like what you think of Don King. And when you get to when Jim starts turning violent on Christy because he is jealous of her, like when she talks to this neighbor, you can already see he's seething. He has an inferiority complex, and he's very controlling. And the movie goes on, he does physically get violent with Christy. At one point, he's choking her. And it almost looks like he's going to kill her. And he does threaten her twice, if you leave me, I will kill you. And so it gets to the point, she finds out that he's been stealing her money. And then her friend, Rosie, calls her and tries to help her get away from Jim, and then he finds out where she is and tells her, I'm closer than you think, and basically threatening her. And she tells Rosie, I gotta go back home, and then she goes home, takes a nap. This is when the horrible thing, does not give anything away, you can read up on this. What happens next is probably one of the most horrifying things to watch, is what Jim does to his wife. And this is a spoiler, but it actually shows how strong she is, and why I kind of admire her. Is she's laying down, taking a nap, and she has headaches because when she faced Leia Ali, she gets hit the first time she gets hit in the head, she goes down, and she gets up, and she's telling Jim in her corner, I have a headache, and she gets hit again. She goes, I feel like she's probably got a concussion, and she says, her head hurts and everything, but, and this doesn't truly go away for the rest of the movie. And then she comes home, she goes and lays down because she says, my head hurts. She's still dealing with the consequences of that Ali, and that's the last fight she actually has. I think, if I remember right, in the movie is Leia Ali. And Leia Ali, if you look up, never lost a fight. And she is a hell of a boxer, like her father. And so, yeah, she wakes up, and Jim's standing there, and I realized right away what was about to happen. You could see it. He has his hand behind his back, and then she's about to get up, and she knows he's holding a knife. It's one of the most violent attacks ever on a person. And he stabs her multiple times, and then he gets a gun, shoots her, and he goes and takes a shower. She gets up, and I didn't realize, you see it, he sliced her calf. Not all the way, he sliced a part of her calf. And she is able, and doesn't give up. This is what's remarkable about Christy Martin. She picks herself up and hobbles her way out of the, accidentally, she thought he grabbed her car keys, ended up grabbing Jim's keys, and then she walks in the street, and a car comes, and luckily this bystander came by and gets her to the hospital. And she tells him that her husband tried to kill her. And she survives. And she's in the hospital, and her father comes in, he breaks down crying, going, and this will make you cry. It will. Ethan Embry's so good, he starts crying, saying, I failed to protect you, to his own daughter. But her mother, Joyce Salter, sees Rosie and takes her aside and says, this is trying to blame Rosie for what happened. Well, when she comes in and asks, where's Rosie? Her mother, being a complete heartless bitch, basically says that, told her to leave, and then give it to Christy. She puts all the blame on her mother and says, you might as well have been the one that shot me. And then we get a monologue, and it's her in court telling the court what he did to her, and she snaps and fucking swears at him, and of course his lawyer objects and everything, and she's like, really, come on, he tried to kill me. She continued, tells Jim, look at me, and he slowly lifts his head up and looks at her, and she's, and basically he gets, for, instead of first degree premeditated attempted murder, he gets second degree attempted murder, 25 years in prison. I think he should have spent the rest of his life in prison for what he did. This is, you can read up on this, and she re-hooks up with her, the woman, Lisa, that she faced in the ring, that, and later on married her. And they show a photo of the real fight that her and Lisa had. And so she wants to get back to the boxing ring. The movie ends where Christy's going back in the boxing room, and she goes back to her gym, and the three guys there, all hug her, and they all feel terrible that they didn't help protect her against Jim. But Jim had a very intimidating personality, that these guys obviously were afraid of him. But the fact that she survived, they hug her, and and then she gets back in the ring. It ends with her going back to boxing, and then they tell you what happened. Jim got convicted of second degree attempted murder and got 25 years in prison. And she got married to Lisa, who she faced and won against. And and so it's like, I really, really love this movie. And Christy and Sydney Sweeney is so amazing. And here's the thing, the movie didn't do well, and Sydney Sweeney came out and said, I didn't expect this movie to do financially well. I didn't do it for that reason. I did it to bring attention to domestic violence and how important this really is, an important movie people should see. Thing was that this didn't get much, no one really knew that this movie had come out. So when I knew, I remember the trailer. I actually loved this trailer that I saw the movie. And I didn't realize, but David Beachoid, I think he's Australian. He did. I've seen another film that they eventually turned into, called Animal Kingdom. I saw the movie and I watched the TV show that they moved to LA, to California for the TV show. But this is just an amazing film. And I was like, I didn't realize, like I said, I didn't realize that was Sydney Sweeney or Ben Foster. They're unrecognizable in their roles. And Ruby Rose came out and attacked Sydney Sweeney and said, you're a cretin because you're not a lesbian. Well, Ruby Rose told everybody she was a bisexual, so what the fuck? And then Christy Martin came out and defended Sydney Sweeney and said, I was on the set. Sydney Sweeney did a great job. I love this movie. I love the job she did, and we're friends. And that said a lot more than what Ruby Rose did, was embarrass herself. And so I highly recommend this film. If you didn't go see it, it's that good of a movie. This movie, look at that. And by the way, wearing pink doesn't make you gay, because Bret the Hitman Hart wore pink, and as a wrestler, and he, one of the greatest wrestlers of all time. But this movie is fantastic. I recommend people go, if you want to see a good movie, don't quit complaining about terrible bad films. Go see this movie, because I think you'll really enjoy it. Even if it's not your thing, it's one of the best boxing movies. I put it there with Rocky 1 and 2. I even put it above $1 Million Baby. I think this is a better film than that. I just want to cover this real quick. If I were giving it, I'd give it a 10 for everything. The story, the pacing, the cinematography, everything about the score, the soundtrack, and the performances. Everybody's fantastic in this movie. There isn't anybody who gives a bad performance. And I will look at this as a role that will define Sydney Sweeney, and she should not only get nominated for Best Actress, she should win. Ben Foster should get Best Supporting. I know he'll probably go up against Jacob Elordi, but I think this is far better than Jacob's performance in Frankenstein, because you can tell that's Jacob Elordi as the creature, but here you can't tell that's Ben Foster. That's how, like I said, he's unrecognizable as Jim Martin. So this is like one of the best movies ever made, one of my favorite movies, and I'll probably go see it again. So this is Gilgamesh. I will talk to you later. Bye.